All right, welcome back to another episode of Producer Grind Podcast. Carrington and JB with me.
Yo.
Gabe from Legion Beats in the building. What's good, bro?
What's going on? Honored to be here. Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. Real excited about this podcast, man. I feel like there's going to be crazy gems drop here.
Gem alert.
So is it safe to call you, so I watched a lot of your content. Is it safe to call you the biggest selling producer of all time, online producer of all time right now?
Ooh, so I'm going to say that might be the guy that I recently partnered up with, Anno Domini.
Okay.
I'm going to say between the two of us, yes. And maybe I would be like the fastest growing or something because he's been doing it forever. But I'm up there. There's okay, I'll say this. So there's two people who have won, they call it the 2 Comma Club Award from ClickFunnels. I'm sure we'll get deep into all this kind of stuff. But basically, we've generated over $1 million in sales from selling beats online. And it's me and Anno Domini. So
I mean, you both got it.
We both separately,
your own
separately have both gotten that. Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
So, I don't know about anybody else, but nobody else has done that as far as I know.
For sure. Now, we'll definitely get into that, man. I know, you got a whole new, business model for producers to talk about, you know what I mean? Definitely want to get into that. Now, I want to talk about, because I watched a lot of your other interviews, and I guess you didn't get as deep into like that grind period, that 10 years that you were talking about, where you, were, trying different things and not really successful. So I want to start off there and just talk, like, first of all, how did you first even, get into music and making beats?
Yeah, for sure. Well, if I'm going to take it all the way back, I was, so my dad, he's a chiropractor, but he does all kinds of stuff and he's always loved music. And so when I was in high school, he kind of got a little recording studio and he got what was like the cool stuff at the time, which was ADAT tapes. Do you guys know what that is? They're like they look like VHS tapes. They're like these giant tapes and they're like multi-track, recorders where like, it's like basically like right before like all the software kind of stuff,
I've seen one before, It's
old.
It's big.
Like at the time it was great. It was super cool. And he had like some keyboards and like a little drum machine. And so like I would literally like program some drums on it was a TR-626. It was this old, like super old rolling little drum machine. And so I'd like program drums and then I'd hit record on the thing and let it run for like 3 minutes. And then I rewind the tape and then I'd like play the keys for like 3 minutes, like play a little loop and then rewind the tape. So like, that's when I first got into it and started making beats and stuff. And that was like, my first introduction to it. And then from there got into like, got a Triton and then into the software and all that kind of stuff.
Damn.
Gotcha.
You was cooking up.
OG
cooking up.
cooking
up. Like,
you had to record. Damn.
So if your dad's a chiropractor, what made him start a recording studio? That was my first question.
Yeah, so my dad does a lot of stuff. Like runs a nonprofit and he's a speaker. He does all kinds of stuff, but he's always loved music. He's never done it for a living, but he's always made music in some way.
Gotcha.
So it's just always been a part of his life.
Mm.
And then at that time, did you start when did you get into engineering as well?
Yeah, I kind of did it at this. No, I started making beats first, and then I got into engineering shortly after. So like I started interning at a recording studio for a guy named Wasnt. Actually, it was crazy. It was like I was just looking for studios in the area, and I opened up the phone book. This was 2002 when like a phone book was a thing. Like I'm old. I'm like 36 years old, so I'm like. I opened up the phone book and just looked at like recording studios in the area. I happened to call this one studio and it's owned by this dude, Wasnt. And this guy's got 3 Grammys. He won Producer of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, like platinum plaques, like produced for like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Aretha Franklin, like who's who of like R&B and all that kind of stuff.
Legendary stuff.
Yeah, but I had no idea. I just called like whatever studio and I was like, hey, you guys want some free help or whatever? Like, and he's like, sure. And so I just went down there and I started just hanging out and
interning.
So you offered the intern?
Yeah, but it was nothing official. Like they didn't have like an internship program or and I was just like, hey, do you guys want me to come down and like
I'll help out?
Yeah, just help out. And so that was kind of my first introduction. From there, that's when I really started learning engineering and started, running sessions there and while also producing at the same time. But engineering became a huge asset to me. Like that's something that really kept me going where like there's been like years where like I did better with producing and years where I didn't do as well. But like being an engineer has been like steady money, like
right.
So that's like a great, man, engineering has been huge for me.
Right. They say it's like a 9 to 5.
That's a big gem.
Yeah. And not only that, like it's great. So like as like a great way to make money, but then it's one of the best ways to get in with artists too, because like it's like if you're a good engineer, like like artists will work with you. Like that's I feel like that's a little more rare than like everybody's got beats, right?
Yeah.
Like they won't even listen to them necessarily. They don't, it's like whatever. But like if you're the engineer, like first of all, they'll want to work with you if you're a good engineer.
Yeah.
And then second of all, who do you think plays the beats for these artists? It's the engineer.
Exactly.
Like when I'm engineering sessions, I'm pulling up their email and like playing shit. So like if you're trying to get a placement, with the producer, like with the artist, like getting good with their engineer, because that's the dude who's gonna be playing the beats for him anyway.
Facts.
Let the gems begin.
The engineers,
Let the gems begin.
the engineers be having the artist emails on their computer.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I'm saying?
Exactly. I have exactly right. I have like artists like just log in. I just have like their
It's a gym right there.
So what was your like end goal at the time? Like what did you see your career turning into at this point?
I mean, I was definitely trying to do the traditional, industry route. That was all I thought existed, and so I was working with the artists in the area. This was back 2006, 2007. So it was like the hyphy movement was kind of the thing. And so, I don't even know if you guys know who these guys are, but like in the Bay, these guys like the Mr. Fab, Keek the Sneak, Messy Marv, Yuck Mouth, E40 Too Short, I think you guys would know. But
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know about some of those other guys.
I know Mr. Fab.
Yeah.
I've heard of Yuck Mouth before.
Yeah. So just working with those guys and trying to do what I thought you're supposed to do, which is like work with the guys in your area and kind of, try to work your way up. And so I did okay at that at first. I did pretty well. Like I teamed up with my partner, Phil. We used to go by the Slap Boys back in the day. And that was like, it was like some Bay Area. Like, I don't even know if people know that terminology. Like, oh, it's a slapper, it's a slap, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about music, right?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like now maybe more people know, but back then, like,
For West Coast, is more music, but it's beats more.
Yeah.
And just slap.
Beats, like slapping for a beat. But I
Yeah,
know
that beat
for
slap.
West Coast, that's a song. Like, yo,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a slapper.
Yeah, exactly right. But,
Where are
like,
you from?
but like back in like 2006 or whatever, like we'd travel somewhere and they'd be like, Slap Boys, like, what is that? That sounds like some weird whatever. So,
Like, what are they getting into?
so we changed. So we ended up changing our name to the Legion. But yeah, that was how I came up with just trying to, just work with the local artists. And, we did good. We got songs on the radio and worked with the artists that were big in the area. And it just, at a certain point, it just felt like I had kind of plateaued. Like I wasn't getting like the huge placements, and I wasn't making much money off the placements I was getting. And I was feeling kind of stuck. Like I was kind of doing that 9 to 5 of the engineering thing, which was cool. But it was like, once I was about 10 years in, like I was ready to give up. I was like, yeah, this is not, I'm not going to, I was still living at my dad's house. Like I couldn't afford like, anything. Like this is not a way that I'm going to be able to provide for myself, let alone like if I want to provide for a family or anything,
Yeah.
So I was ready to give up. And then that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should try selling beats online, and that was really only about 5 years ago. And then that kind of like changed my whole life.
Yeah.
Now, would you, in that 10-year time, would you say there was times where you were lazy, or were you really trying, like you were actually focused? And
I mean, anybody who says they were never lazy is lying. I'm sure there were times when I was lazy, especially when like I would start getting down, like, like especially sort of towards the later years where it felt like, in the earlier years it was exciting. Like I felt like I was moving up. I felt like things were happening. But then when it kind of felt like it was plateauing a little bit, like, yeah, I wouldn't be super motivated. Like if I had a session booked, like I'd show up, but I definitely wasn't like grinding and like making beats all night, all the time. Like there was times when I would, but for sure there was times when I was like, just had lost the motivation to do it.
right. And then you were like, how old were you at this time? You were a little older, right?
Yeah. So by the time I started selling beats online, I was like 30. I was like just right before I turned 30. Yeah.
Now I know a lot of guys. I've talked to a lot of guys that are kind of later 20s, early 30s, and they reach a point where they're like, yo, things aren't working. Like, I'm getting older. Like, should I even continue, trying this or doing this? Or should I get a regular job? Like, what would you say to those guys?
It's tough, man, because I was there. That's exactly what my thoughts were like. Oh, yeah, I guess I have to get a real job. I guess I'm done, like, whatever. And, like, that was right before I had this huge breakthrough where, like, now, I'm super excited about what I do. Like, I'm making a good living. Like, I'm flying out to Atlanta on last minute's notice. I get to hang out with you guys and like, these other dudes. So it's like, so for me, like I say, man, like stick with it because you never know when that breakthrough's going to come. But like, I don't know. Nobody knows. Like, so it's tough. I will say like, you definitely don't know. If you had asked me at that time, I would have never imagined that I'd be where I am today, so.
Now you said you didn't start selling beats till you were 30. but you moved out of your dad's house at 27. So that 3 years, what were you doing that was able to financially support you?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I think I was always selling beats. I just wasn't selling beats online.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really the shift of that when I started making good money or like decent money was really from selling beats online. So it was just
When you were selling them like just in a not online, it was enough to just get the bills paid and have a living.
barely. Yeah, barely.
And then around this time, is that when you discovered Anno Domini?
Yeah. So then I got into selling beats online, right? And I was just kind of looking at like, okay, well, what are all the other producers doing? Because I don't know, like I guess whatever they're doing is probably what I should do, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd kind of look and kind of try and model after what they were doing. And like, I got a couple sales, which was like cool. I was like, oh, cool. I made $20. I made $50, whatever. Like, which even though it wasn't a lot of money, it kind of felt good where like, instead of like trying to like, I feel like the placements game, like you're always like chasing after people. You're hearing no 1,000 times, like you're getting rejected constantly. But like with this, it kind of felt like cool. Like I'm putting my beats out there and like people are just like PayPaling me money while I sleep. Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then from there, it was like, okay, that was like a little more motivating. So like, let me learn a little bit more about, maybe I can pick up a little tip or trick with marketing that might make this go a little better. And so I started looking into that. And then I found Anno Domini. That's when I found him. And so he was somebody who'd been around forever. Like he was one of the first dudes to put a PayPal button on a SoundClick page, which was like, that was like the whole game for like, I don't know, 5 or 8 years or whatever. So he was at the forefront then, and then he was smart enough to pivot again and like try something new. And so I was kind of looking, okay, what are all the producers doing? Starting to kind of geek out. I'm like, all right, this is how this guy's kind of selling beats. And when I saw what he was doing, I was like, oh, this is different. Like this guy's smarter. Like this guy's doing something different. And I literally like clicked on a link that he had, and it said the URL was like annodomini.clickfunnels.com. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me find out what that is. And then from there, that sent me down a whole like crazy rabbit hole of learning about ClickFunnels. So ClickFunnels is a software. It's the CEO of the company is a guy named Russell Brunson. And it's basically the software that most sales funnels are built on. And that's this whole concept we can get deep. I can talk about it for hours. We can get deep into it, but like
people use it for everything from like supplements to training courses, all kinds of stuff, right?
Literally everything. Like it's, yeah.
So what is, okay, for someone that's never heard of a sales funnel or a click funnel, what is it? Like break it down for them.
Yeah. So like there's a couple ways to think about it, but like the way that I like to think about it is basically to some extent everybody, if you're selling something, you have a funnel. You just might not have a good one, or you might not have a smart one. So basically like your funnel is like everything that you do that takes your customer, your potential customer from like not knowing who you are all the way to loving you, buying from you over and over again, right? So what does this journey look like? What are all these steps that happen in between? And so the idea with creating a sales funnel on purpose is that you actually control each one of those steps. And so like, just an example, like on each page, usually there's like one call to action. There's one thing you can do on each page, right? Where it's like all I want them to do on this page is give me their email address in exchange for this or whatever, or just focus on this one product or this one group of products, as opposed to like, if you think of a traditional website, there's like a menu with a whole bunch of stuff. There's links out to your social media. There's all this stuff. And it's like, there's all these places you can go. There's all these, it's almost like the analogy that I like to use sometimes is like, if you walk into like a Costco or a Walmart, like you just walk in and there's just stuff everywhere, right? And you might kind of find the stuff you want. But like, if you walk into like some like high-end clothes retailer, like some dude might greet you at the door and be like, hey, what's up? Like, what's your name? Cool. Like, let me show you what I think what I think you might need. Like, cool. Okay, now that you got that, here's the next thing that you're going to need. So it's taking them through that process more on purpose as opposed to just like sending them on their way. If that makes sense.
Got you.
Now, so when you were selling beats online, like what was the best you ever did, selling beats online, and what were you doing? What was your business model?
Yeah, so at first what I was doing, I was on SoundClick because that was like, I kind of caught the tail end of that.
Okay.
And then on BeatStars. But yeah, just trying to do like basically the game that pretty much every producer who sells beats online does, which is to try to rank high for certain keywords on YouTube, try to grow their Instagram, and drive that traffic to their beat store. Like that's literally the whole game. Like 99% of producers, like most producers right now that are listening to this, that are selling beats online, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started out doing, you know, and it's you can have some success doing it. You know, and there's some guys that are doing okay. And like, but the way that we're doing it is just, it's a different level. So here's like some math on that. So like, if you think about like, okay, you put out a YouTube video and let's say you're like killing it at that keyword game where like you're ranking for Drake type beat, Migos type beat, whatever. Like, and then you're getting, let's say 500,000 views, right? That's like about on the high end of what, you know, what these guys are about, are going to get. So like, okay, cool. You got 500,000 people to watch that, but like the first link in the description is going to go to their beat store because that's the business model, right? So like people think like it's super easy. Oh, you get 1% of the people to watch it to click on it. Like, no, it's not that easy, right? It's actually going to be it's probably closer to 0.1% or maybe less.
Wow.
Right? So like, but even if you said it was 1%, then we're at from 500,000, now we're at 5,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Now they click over to your beat store, like your conversion rate of somebody who's on a store, like, or some type of sales page to buy, like 1% again is pretty good, right? So now we're talking about where we're at 5,000. Now we're at 50 people, right?
people.
Sorry guys. Too much math here.
I was thinking in my head, I was like,
No, you're on it. So now you got 50 people, right? 50 people are going to buy. And let's say on average, you're selling your beats for $20, $50, $100 for a beat lease, right? Let's say on average, it's $50. So now 50 people bought that beat lease for $50. And so now you made $2,500 total for the lifetime value of that one video. Right. So, okay. So let's say you're killing it at that game and you do 4 of those a month. Now you're making $10,000 a month. Cool. You're making low 6 figures a year. And those are the guys that most producers are looking up to as killing the game.
Yeah.
But we've done days where we've done $55,000 in revenue. We've had, you know, a week where we've done $200,000 in sales. So it's like what we're doing, like the ceiling of that is way higher. Right. And the thing is that most producers only see that model. So they're looking up to the guys that are only here. Like they don't even realize, because those are the guys that are big with the branding. Those are the guys that show up, you know, in the search results. So they
think they're the highest of the top of the pole.
Exactly.
And most guys would think like 500,000 views on YouTube, like, yo, like that's my end goal. Like you said, like that's like most guys are maybe getting 10,000 at max. So their conversion is way, way less than that. Less than that.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Damn, that's crazy. So you would think 500,000 views would equate to more than about $2,500, but
yeah, and I mean, you know, maybe the math is off a little bit somewhere, but the concept is the same. Like there's that's about the ceiling. You know, I don't know, maybe somebody's made a little more, but like it's only going to scale so far.
Right. I feel like off of that, how much are you spending on ads? But go ahead.
True.
I feel like you should pay attention to the conversion rate. Like you said, like 1% is not even realistic.
Yeah.
It's not even realistic. Like,
and I feel like a lot of producers, like they don't even know to pay attention to conversion rates. They might not even know what that is. And a lot of this marketing talk is kind of like, I heard you talk about this with Payne One on the music entrepreneur club interview. He said like he kind of resisted all this stuff at first, and because it's like it's nerdy. It's like, nah, bro, I want to be in the studio smoking weed and making beats, working with Young Thug. It's not like I don't want to be at home on ClickFunnels and you know what I mean. But like, nah, all this stuff is like, this is how you can make money. You know what I mean? Especially if you live in a small city and you want to be an online producer. So what? Now you said there's a ceiling pretty much on that business model, right?
Mm-hmm. I would say so, because unless nobody's getting 10 million views or maybe I'm wrong on beats, but whatever it is, like you're gonna bump up against that ceiling at some point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I'm talking about in earnings too.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if they're doing that model, you know, scale it up. Okay, right. We did an example where they're doing 500,000. Like, yeah, it's only going to scale up so far. You're going to hit a ceiling.
Got you. Yeah. And now, so talk about like some of the holes in that business model.
So yeah, it was like you were saying, like the conversion rates, right? So like, how can you improve that? So for one thing, like that is their whole sales funnel, right? That's the whole model. So like instead, like one thing you can do right away, instead of having that link go to like, hey, buy this beat, and only probably 0.1%, maybe less, are going to click on it, offer them something for free. Say, hey, get 3 free beat leases or 10 free beat leases or whatever. Like offer them something for free, and then now have them land on a page that's like a sales funnel where it's like on that page, it's super simple. All it is like, hey, if you want these 5 free beats, cool, enter your email, right? And it's like, there's nothing else they can do. They can't click off to your socials. They can't do something else. They can't buy anything even. It's just, that's all super simple. There's like this marketing concept that a confused mind says no. So like, don't give them hella options. Just be like, you could either do this or leave. Like, that's it, right? And now all of a sudden, I'm seeing 50%, 60%, sometimes 70% opt-in rates on those kinds of pages because they want it, right? They want a free, like it's a no-brainer, right? So now all of a sudden what you've done is you've gotten 10 times, 100 times more people, whatever, to click on that link in the first place. You've gotten now way more people to take that action than by, what do we say, 1% compared to 70% or whatever. And now there's a couple things like, to me, the concept from there is like, so Russell Brunson is like my mentor as far as business. I mentioned him earlier. He's a guy who kind of is a CEO of ClickFunnels. And so he has this concept called a value ladder. So the whole thing is you climb them up your value ladder. So like the first exchange you made was like they entered their email and you gave them some free beats. And they're going to listen to those beats and they're going to be like, oh, these are dope. Like, wow, that was a great trade. Like, I feel really good about that. And now you climb them up the value ladder. Now you're going to be like, hey, here's this next offer. I'm going to give you this, this, and this. I'm going to give you 5 beats plus this, or whatever it is, right? Next thing up your value ladder. And they're going to be like, all right, for $27 or what, we're talking about sevens earlier, but like whatever, $30, whatever. The price is, okay.
$29.99.
Yeah. I'm going to give you this $30. You're going to give me that. And then they're like, oh, wow, like I gave him $30. And what I got, the value I felt from that was like $100 or more. Like, this feels great. Now you offer them the next thing. Now it's, hey, do you want to sign up for my membership? It's $147 a month, but it's like every single time you've stepped up my value ladder, you've gotten more in return. So you're going to want to continue to climb up that value ladder.
Yes, sir.
Got you.
Yes, sir.
I definitely want to get way more in depth on the producer funnel, but when you said when you first started selling beats online is when you kind of really started learning about the marketing stuff. And I know you said you bought a whole bunch of courses, went to seminars, even paid someone $25,000 a year for coaching.
Yep.
Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, man. So it's funny because like for those 10 years before that, when I was, trying to get placements and had my studio and stuff like that, like technically I was a business owner, right? But I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur or a marketer. And everything was just kind of word of mouth and kind of networking or whatever. But when I started to sell beats online, when I started to get that success, then it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, this is kind of fun. So like, let me learn a little bit more. And then I'd learn a little bit more and then I'd apply that. And then I get more results. I'd be like, oh, this is really cool. And then eventually became not just because of the results, like the results are great. Like the money is cool, but it's almost like the scoreboard. And then like, it becomes a fun game to play by itself, the marketing, the business side, the entrepreneurship, just like making beats, like you geek out about the plugins and all that kind of stuff. It's the exact same thing with marketing. Like you start to geek out about the software and the different ways that you can do it. And so it's like, I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but like there's some similarities. Like you can get really creative with the way that you create your marketing campaigns, just like with making beats, you can get super deep into that world. And so for me, I feel really lucky that like I got so into it that it was like, oh, this is fun. Like on my free time, like I'm thinking about this just like for making beats, like this is fun.
Right.
And then I was able to combine that with making beats. And now all of a sudden, because I was doing both and interested in both and excited about both and spending the time on both, I was able to have the success that I've had.
Now talk to us about that $25K a year coaching. Was it worth it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So Russell Brunson, that's the guy who's,
gotcha.
You know what I mean? And it's literally so Russell Brunson, he's a guy who will tell you exactly how to sell somebody while he's selling you.
You're going through a ClickFunnels while he's teaching you.
Literally, bro, like he'll tell you like every single trick, all the psychology, all the kind of stuff. And you just like pull out your wallet. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. But it's that value ladder concept. Right. Cause like the thing is like the first year I signed up for that last year, like it was a shitload of money. Like I was no way I was expecting to do it. But in my mind, I was like, okay, every time I've given this guy money, I've made way more money back. Now he's asking for a lot more money than I've ever given before. But man, basically it kind of set up this thing in my mind where like, okay, I believe that what he's talking about will work. And the way I think it'll work is it's going to make a lot of money. So then the only way that I could not buy this is if I don't believe in myself. And that's all partly because of how he set it up, right? He said he's a very smart dude, right?
It's the same concept with your whole beat store, like provide the value. Well, okay, he gave me all these free beats. The next step I'm going to take, well, he hasn't done me any wrong in the past, so this next step.
Right.
Like, it's the
Exactly
same
right.
thing. You're taking us through the
Exactly
quick
right.
funnel.
Must.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Right.
And then I signed up for the coaching program, and it the way that it transformed my business is like, we doubled our revenue from the year before. We did over $500,000 last year in revenue. That was the first year we signed up for this coaching program. The year before it was around like 250 or whatever. So like, yeah, that's worth it. You know what I mean? I can't say that coaching program is the reason for 100% of that growth, but it's a good chunk of it, So absolutely, it's a great return on investment.
So I kind of want to, okay, if I'm listening along, right, you just told me, okay, add this description in my bio, right? Or in my YouTube video. Take me to a ClickFunnels sales page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got their email. Now what do I do? What's the next step from there?
Yeah, so right after that, what I would recommend is that's like the perfect chance to start building that rapport. So like what I would do is I'd have, the next page be like, cool, hey, those beats are on the way to your inbox. Like, they'll be there in about 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, check out this video. I want to show you how you can get the most out of those beats. Right.
Okay.
So now the psychology is like, cool, like, all right, goodwill, like, he gave me some free beats. He's going to show me how, like, great, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now you introduce yourself. You tell your story. You start building that rapport. You start building that personal brand, that personal connection.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're giving them some kind of offer. You're offering them something. And then this is where we get into like the difference between what an offer is, like a true offer, and what like a beat lease is, which is a commodity.
Okay.
And so what I mean by that is like commodity is like like milk or gasoline, right? So like you can kind of get it anywhere. It's kind of about the same price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you think about it, like how do you decide we're gonna get gas? Like
just whatever's
on the corner, or like
you need
whatever.
gas, what's close, what's nearest.
cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
My
Like-
favorite one. Shit.
Yeah, whatever. It's probably going to be either whatever's the most convenient or maybe whatever's cheapest, but probably whatever's the most convenient. So the reason why I say a beat lease is a commodity is because there's hundreds of thousands of producers trying to sell beats online.
Right.
And like, I get it. Like you're a producer, like every beat you make is a beautiful snowflake and it's your baby and like, it's incredible, but
It's
like
a classic.
and like, but the truth is there's so many producers and like, yeah, maybe a good amount of them are not they're very good, right?
Yeah.
But there's actually a lot of good producers. Like there are a good amount that are actually good, right?
Especially now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more and more every day, right?
Yeah.
These kids, yeah. So it's like, so it's a commodity. So like people can get a beat lease anywhere. So now if you want to compete with selling a beat lease, you have to win on either price, which doesn't even work anyways, or convenience. The guys that are winning on convenience, the guys that are those gas stations on the corner, are the guys that are showing up in those YouTube ranks. So those are the only guys who can win selling a commodity, right? But we already talked about there's a ceiling for that anyway. So like, so instead what you have to do is create an offer. And basically like creating an offer, it starts with understanding who is your customer. Like who exactly are they? What are their hopes and dreams? What do they want? What do they need? Like, how do you speak to them, right? And then from there you say like, okay, what can I provide to them that they want and need? So now it's like, so now you put together a bundle of products and services around that, around who your ideal customer is and who you are. Like, what's your story and your brand? And now all of a sudden you're not selling a commodity, you're selling this offer, this bundle of products and services that's not available anywhere else. So now it's not just, oh yeah, you're gonna get a beat lease or buy one, get two free. It's like, no, you're gonna get 10 beats, plus you're gonna get, plus I'm gonna mix and master the song for you. Plus, I don't know, my homie does graphic design and he's gonna hook you up. But it's like, but you put it together in a way where you tie it into your story and understanding who your customer avatar, like who that ideal customer is. And now all of a sudden what you're selling is something that you're not competing with anybody because nobody else is selling that exact offer. It's not a commodity anymore.
So basically you're just helping them. You're just a vessel to help them to get to their end goal.
Exactly right.
Bundle it.
Now, what about the producers where the only thing they really have to offer is beats? They don't know how to mix and they don't really, know anything else that they can offer.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And like, here's the thing is like, it doesn't need to come from you, right? So like you can read, like for example, I have in a few of my offers, I have some courses, some like information product, like, how to rap better, how to market yourself, like different courses, ones that I haven't created, but I'll reach out to the people who created these courses. Maybe they're my friends, or maybe they're just people who I Googled like how to rap course or whatever, and you come across them and then you say like, hey, would you be willing, like, I've got this offer, I've got this audience, like, would it be cool if I included this for free as part of my, offer? And a lot of times those guys will say yes, because they created this course 2 years ago and it's not making a lot of money, but it's going to, it's going to get their name in front of more people. Or maybe you work out a deal with them where it's like, hey, I'll pay you $20 a month to license it, or whatever it is. Like you can, so it doesn't have to be you. Same thing with mixing and mastering. You find somebody, there's some dude who's in anywhere, who's in the Philippines, who's got like a laptop, who's dope with headphones.
Fire master.
Yeah, right. And you just find them, right? And then you say, hey, cool. Like I can like what kind of deal can you do for me? And they'll be like, I don't know. I'll do mixes for $20 all day, or like somebody will, right? And now you can include that as part of your offer without having to charge a whole bunch of money. So the same thing with that. It's like graphic design, different products and services, taking other producers' beats and including that in your offer as well. There's all kinds of ways that you can take stuff that you didn't personally create, but include it in your offer.
I think that's a huge gem, because I think a lot of producers, they get caught up in the they have to wear multiple hats, and it takes a burden off of them by outsourcing it. I think that's another gem.
Absolutely.
Another gem.
So what you saying about you telling your story and stuff like that and creating that personal connection, and I understand that's like having your personal brand.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to create that personal brand and making that connection without making it corny? You know?
Man, it's tough. Like, to me, it's probably going to feel corny at first. Honestly, it takes practice. Like, the way that people get good at being on camera and talking and telling their story is by being on camera and talking and telling their story. Like, there's no way around it. So the first 20, 100 times you do it, you're going to feel awkward. It's probably going to be corny, and that just is what it is. Like, I still, like, I've been more on the personal brand, trying to focus on that more recently. But like, for me, like, I'm super introverted. Like, I get like hella bad anxiety. Like, I'm not the kind of person who like does like talks and gets on like, I don't even like to talk when I'm hanging out with my friends. You know what I mean? Like, but I've understood like the value of it for my business. And so it's a skill that I've been practicing, and I'm way far from where I want to be and hope maybe I'll get someday. But compared to where I was like 2 years ago, I've gotten a lot better. So it really just comes down to practice. Just hop on, go on your Instagram, go to Instagram stories, do a little selfie video. You're going to feel weird and just be like, here's what I did today. Or like, what I like. And it's, and the more you do it, the more it goes two ways. You're going to find your own voice, more of like, oh, cool. Like, actually, I like talking about this stuff. And you're going to start getting reactions where like, oh, I talked about this random whatever. And like, that's what I got the most responses to. Like, all right, I guess maybe I'll talk more about that. You know what I mean? So really, there's no shortcut, I don't think, other than you just start doing it.
Now, when you say random, you mean stuff might not even pertain to music or beats and stuff?
Definitely. A lot of times that's the stuff that really creates that connection, right? Like, you're both interested in sports or some whatever, like, I don't know, whatever, shoes, I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter. Like that, a lot of times that's the kind of stuff that really strengthens that connection, sometimes even more than just the music, So definitely, don't be afraid to include that stuff.
So you got to build a relationship with things that are more than just what you're trying to sell them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. Yep.
And now we personal brand is important and everything, but you and Anna Domini both have made $1 million in the past year or whatever, and both your social media is nothing too crazy. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like thousands and thousands of followers, or thousands of followers, but it's not like real high engagement, not really anything. So how important is, your social media branding, to...
So this is good timing. This is interesting. So like, my social media is trash. Like, my YouTube is garbage. Like, it's fine. It's fine. We could just say it. What I've gotten really good at is this other side that we're talking about, the funnel, the sales funnel, the sales process, right? And that's been good enough to get me to $1 million, right? So I was just talking to the guys at Cymatics, right? I was just spending a whole day with them yesterday. And it's crazy. They kind of had a similar path where like, they got really good at that side of it, and they got to a certain point, and they're making good amount of money, like similar to what we're making now. And then they connected with Gary Vee, and they did this whole like high end thing where they connected with him personally and his team and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And he's always preaching about personal brand and all that kind of stuff, but like, I guess it clicked in a different way when they did that. And so they've been focusing on that for the last like year and a half. And he showed me his numbers now, and it's like double or more. And in converting into like leads and sales, not just like, their social media is crazy, but like once I saw the back end of that, like this is literally yesterday, it made like, I've been talking about this stuff and doing way better job than I had been in the past. But now that I actually see the numbers of like, oh my God, like this really, really works. Like, hopefully, like, I don't want to call my shot too much. Hopefully, like, my Instagram and stuff in the next year is going to be at a whole different level. Like, that's my plan, at least. We'll see how it goes.
So it's not the end goal is just to have a super lit Instagram. It's to have a super lit Instagram that's funneling, creating more leads.
Exactly right. And that's the part, I think people get that backwards. And they think that that's the first most important thing, or they think that's the end game. They think that's all it is. Like, cool, I got a big Instagram, but like, trust me, most of the people who have those bigger social media followings are making way less money, have way less customers, have way less people on their email list, less people on their messenger list, like all that kind of stuff. It's just that one metric that they're seeing that a lot of people see, and they think that that's winning the game. But like, that's you're looking at the wrong number there. You know what I mean? Like, there's value there for sure, but it's not the most important thing.
Now, how do you feel about like growth hacking and, really focusing on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great because it's just any way that you can reach your audience is good, right? Like, I'm a strong proponent of like your email list, your messenger list, and your SMS list, because those are the people that you can contact directly whenever you want. But if you can reach them through your Instagram, because Instagram right now has like crazy organic reach. It's like pretty much the only, like Facebook, 0 organic reach, right?
Right.
But like Instagram right now, what's that?
Facebook's pay for play only.
Only. And my guess is Instagram will be in, who knows, a year, two, who knows? Just probably, right? It's owned by the same dude. Like, that's probably where it'll go. But like right now, the organic in there is great. So like, if you have that following and you're getting that engagement, then it's, in a way, it's just as good as your email list. The thing that's not as good as your email list is like, your email list will stick with you as those platforms evolve and change and go to the next one. So what's important is like, know what's working right now and like get the most out of it. Like, if Instagram organic is going crazy right now, like, go in on it. Cool. But also have your people on an email list, also have on a messenger list, so that when that starts to fizzle out and you've got the next thing, you can start pushing those people there. Because there's too many people, they're so reliant on one channel where like, if Instagram went away tomorrow, their business went away tomorrow. If YouTube went away tomorrow, their business went away tomorrow. So like, you gotta like be smart about that. Like, have people on a couple different platforms, especially the email, messenger, or SMS, and then focus on whatever is gonna be the best, social media platform for you at that time, and be aware of how those things are evolving.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I have a question. Okay, so you got a super high following. Like, we have a really good following on social media right now. What do you do to get that following to get email? Like, how do you get the email list from that following and not, hey, just drop your email away? Like, you see?
Yeah. You got to offer them something, right? You got to give them some cool incentive, and it doesn't have to be like getting leads and sales. Like, I think sometimes people feel like you got to be salesy or pushy,
Right.
But you can actually create more goodwill by doing it. Like, hey, get this free sample pack or whatever. Like, whatever it is, like, opt in here. Like, bam, easy, right?
But I guess I'm more asking, so like for like do you use the like on Instagram, the polls where they write in their answer and then you take those emails and then put it into a list, or do you get
something
them to
like
comment?
you're talking about like the mechanics of it, like the technology of it.
Yeah.
So something like that would be cool to do to start, but it's going to be really hard to scale that, right? Once you get to a certain point, you don't want to like copy and paste from your like
comments.
So if you're just starting out, that's cool. Like, do stuff that doesn't scale, right? Like, just be like, hey, just DM me your email address and I'll email. Like, that's fine. But at a certain point, you need stuff that scales. So that's when you start using tools like ClickFunnels, where it's like, now you're sending them to a landing page, like we talked about.
Okay,
and then that's the mechanics where they're entering their email, and you've got that all automated with whatever email service you're using.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard you you dropped a major gem in one of your interviews. I think you even did it more than once. Where you're talking about how you got creative in getting emails. And can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, for sure. I've got a couple, but I think you're probably talking about the cold email hack, that one of that, where I'm talking about GMAS.
Scraper,
Okay. So this is a cool one where like, this is like the, it's kind of like they call it, there's like the white hat stuff and the black hat stuff. Like, the white hat is like, what you're supposed to do. The black hat is like, illegal in some way. This is like gray.
Gray area.
It's like gray area. But yeah, this is something that's worked really well for me. So basically the concept is scraping people's emails and then sending them a cold email, meaning they're not on your list or anything. Some people call that spam, but we're going to call it a cold email introduction here. And then from there, you're going to offer them, just like you do in your YouTube channel or whatever, some free beats and be like, hey, what's up? This is Gabe from Legion Beats. I happened to come across your SoundCloud profile. I noticed you had your email in your bio. I hope it's cool that I hit you up. I'd love to work. If you're interested, click here for some free beats. Bam. Now I'm sending them to that funnel. And so from there, it's all legit.
Right.
Right. So that's the concept. So that takes a long time, right? So then it's like, okay, how could you scale that up? So there's a few different things. So there's one that works really well. There's a Chrome extension called Email Extractor, free extension. And what it does is anytime on a page there's emails, you click one button and it'll copy them all, and then you could paste that into whatever you want, right? So you could go to, like, for example, you go to Twitter and say, like, I need beats or whatever, or you go to Facebook.
You search it, right?
Yeah, you search for it. Sorry, you go to Twitter search, exactly right. Or you go to Facebook and search for drop emails below for beats or something like that, right? And you'll see like hundreds of emails pop up.
Because producers do that as a tactic. You're
Or
saying.
Exactly right.
do it, or
Yep, exactly right. Exactly
But then
right.
there's just all this valuable information out there for the.
Yes, and there'll be like 50 emails that like will pull up, right? They'll be right there. So then you click on that email extractor Chrome extension. You click one button, it copies all of them. So now from here, okay, cool. That was a quick way to get all those emails. So now you could go into Gmail and like paste each one by one. You could do the BCC thing, which is like people can see it. Like they see that you're like sending it and it's not from there. And then if they reply, it replies in one thread and it's kind of messy. So then if you want to scale that, there's another Chrome extension called Gmass. What Gmass does, this thing is crazy. So it'll take your Gmail and basically turn it into like an autoresponder, like a Gmail or sorry, like a MailChimp or something like that. So what you do is you take all, let's say you just took 2 minutes and scraped 200 email addresses. You put them all in the to field, in Gmail, and then you click the little Gmass button. It'll pop up with a little Gmass button when you have the Chrome extension installed. And when you click that button, Gmass on the back end will create individual emails and send out 200 individual emails to each one of those people.
So instead of copying and pasting it to the individual. Right?
Exactly right. And then you can do stuff where it can even follow up, like 2 days later if they don't reply, be like, hey, what's up? Like, just wanted to make sure you saw this, And then you could set it where like 8 days later, like, hey, just, don't mean to bother you. Just want to follow up one last time. If you want to work, hit this link. If not, no worries. And what's crazy too, because of that, those like follow-ups, like so many more people respond to that third one because they're like, oh yeah, my bad, bro. Like, I'll check it out now or whatever. And so you automate all that with like, you just click one button and like it sends it to those 200 people, and you could do that every day.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what happens when you come in contact with the emails that bounce back, or it's like another producer when you're trying to target a artist? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, great question. So as far as emails bouncing back, so that reminds me of something too. You don't want to do this on your main Gmail account because it is kind of gray, right? So like you don't want to get like in any spam filters or anything like that. So first of all, just create a new Gmail account and create as many free Gmail accounts as you want. So that's one thing. And if your bounce rate is super high, where it's like it's an email that doesn't work, then Gmail might be like, eventually they're going to be like, okay, this guy is like spamming people.
Right.
Because technically you are. But so what you can do is you can go to a service like Bulk Email Validator. You upload the emails there. It does this process super quickly where it's like somehow, I don't understand how the technology works, but it'll basically check to see which of those emails are going to bounce. It'll take those out of that list, and now you have a nice clean list.
Yeah, that was in what
my question
podcast? You were talking about in your Mixer G one. I thought that was super crazy. I was like, it like it validates if all of them are active or not. I thought that was crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that will keep those bounce rates low. It'll keep Gmail happy, and then you can send those out.
So let's talk about a little bit. I know we kind of talked about it briefly. So you got your emails. They're getting the free beats. So from that the email hack you just told us, you're sending them to somewhere where they get the free beats, and they have to put their email in to get the free beats.
Exactly.
And now they're on your real mail list or whatever.
Yep.
And then so now you're taking them up that value ladder. Talk to us more about that value ladder and the producer funnel. Business model.
For sure. So like from there, the first thing that they're going to see, like we talked about, right? They opt in, they see that video, you're starting to tell your story. And here's what's important is like knowing who that customer is, because you want to be talking directly to that customer. Meaning like, if you think about like the way that you talk to your mom compared to the way that you talk to your friends, compared to the way that you talk if you're being recorded on a podcast, like it's different, right? It's just human nature, right? So when you start speaking into a camera, when you're just like, hey, this is Gabe from Legion Beats. Like, I hope you guys like these beats. Like, you don't know who you're talking to. So a lot of times that's part of why people seem so dry when they're on camera. So if you have that person in mind and like really have that person in mind, like give them a name, give them a whole backstory, like, you know, fucking Bobby from Atlanta who's 23 years old and, you know, went to one
My boy Bobby.
yeah, went to, you know, dropped out of college, but he loves music and bubble. And like, so now what happens is every single thing you do when you're getting on that camera, when you're writing those emails, instead of like writing generically, you're writing to that dude. And now all of a sudden, like, it doesn't sound so dry. You sound like a real person because you're talking to, you know, a real person, like in your mind, right? So that would be the first thing. And then also with Bobby in mind, you want to create that offer, right? So now that first offer is going to be like a relatively low ticket item. Like I'd say definitely less than $50, probably less than $40 on that first one.
Yeah.
Because you want it to kind of be a no-brainer, like, oh my God, he stacked on all this value. He's got his homie who's going to mix the record in the Philippines and he's got like, you know, whatever it is, like all the cool stuff that you put together in your little bundle. And that's the first thing they see.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can do stuff where like you can give them upsells, right? Which is kind of like, hey, cool, like you just got that offer, like great job. That was a great choice you made. Here's this next thing that is gonna, you know, help you get results 10 times faster or 10 times better or whatever. Like, you know, just as an example, let's say you didn't include the mixing and mastering on that first part. The next part could be like, yo, you just got a bunch of great beats. That's awesome. It included this other stuff. Cool. You know, so you could record that and you can mix it yourself and it'll probably, you know, sound okay. But like, if you want it to sound amazing, here's this next thing you need, you know? And so you can keep kind of stacking, like giving more offers, right? So then you could be like an upsell. There could be another upsell. And then what's amazing, well, like the best part about this is you've got them on your list. So now you can use that to continue to communicate with them. So now you're telling your story. You're maybe pushing them back to that offer page if they haven't bought, but also you can offer them different stuff in the future because now they're on your list. So like you can build that relationship, you can build that rapport. Unlike if they just click over to your beat store and they don't buy, then they just disappear, right?
Right.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Run.
Right.
Yeah.
Go.
And a lot of times, even if they buy, like you can collect those emails, but a lot of people aren't even doing that.
Right.
You know? So then you develop that relationship. Now you can offer them the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
What would be the next offer? Because I could see how someone thinks, okay, I offered them my beats, I offered them mix and master. That's pretty much all I got. What's the next step after that? What's the next value proposition after that?
Yeah, I mean, you can structure it so many different ways. If it, you know, like I was saying earlier, if you feel like you've run out of stuff, then like what can I offer from somebody else, right? Maybe it is a course that somebody else has created. Maybe it's, you know, it could be anything. Maybe at a certain point, like you can start getting into continuity and getting into like a subscription model, like a membership. I'm like hesitant to talk about that because like you really want to get, it's so much harder to sell and it's harder to fulfill on. So like
Keep up with.
yeah. So like it's great. Like you should want that as a goal, but get really good at this first part that we're talking about of getting people in, driving that traffic, getting them to opt in, giving them that offer, getting them to buy. Once you're good with that and you've developed that, now you have this community, you now have this people. That to me eventually would be the next thing, would be that some type of membership or subscription thing. But I almost don't like to say it because like people try to do that from off the bat, and it's just like
bite off way more than they can chew.
Yeah.
Because then when it's not a membership, you know, it's as close to residual as can be. Nothing's like 100% pure residual. But when you bring in that membership, now you got a job because you got people that are signed up to this membership, and you got to make sure that you're giving them what they pay for every month.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you give us some gems on Facebook ads and driving people to your funnel through those ads?
Yeah, so we spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, but like we do it profitably, right? We make more than that money back. So like, as far as tips, I mean, one thing I'll just say as far as like big picture is like, I hate it. Like there's a lot of producers who will tell you like, oh, don't do Facebook ads. Like I tried it, like it doesn't work. Like, and it's like, to me, that's like, you're telling people not to cash in on one of the biggest opportunities that we have in our lifetime right now. Like Facebook ads is crazy. Like, okay, so like Mark Zuckerberg, he owns Facebook, he owns Instagram, he bought WhatsApp, he owns something called the Audience Network, which is basically he can get your message in front of people who are on the Facebook Messenger app, who are on the Facebook app, who are on Instagram, who are on basically every other game, and like he can have your shit show up on Tinder, like everywhere, right? So we say
Facts.
Facebook ads, but really it's using the Facebook ads manager to reach his whole audience, which is about 3 billion people, right? And there's like,
That's
what,
almost
7
half the world.
billion people
Right.
in the world, right? So it's like the whole planet, basically, right? So like, it's incredible. It's amazing, right? And not only can you reach all those people, you can get crazy hyper targeted about who you're reaching. So you can reach the exact right people. So it's like, so Facebook ads are amazing. So anybody who tells you they don't work is just, they're not doing it right. So, but you do have to spend some money, because you have to like spend some money to figure out what works. There's no getting around it. Like you have to test stuff. But yeah, I guess as far as getting into specifics, like, you know, one big thing that already kind of makes sense with what we're talking about is what producers will try to do is they'll do an ad that goes to their beat store, right? And it's the exact same problem that we've been talking about, right? Which is people aren't going to click in the first place. And if they do, even less are going to buy.
Right.
And then from there, the relationship is over anyways. So like just that alone, just the fact that now you've got it set up the way that we've been talking about, now all of a sudden, what you're worried about more than the sale is the lead. Like, did they opt into my email list? Because
Right.
at a certain point, you know, okay, for every 100 people that opt into my email list, this many people buy, the product costs this much. Therefore, I know every lead is worth to me, you know, $3 or whatever. And now all of a sudden I can just look at Facebook. Now it's like a game. I can look at Facebook in the ads manager and it'll tell me, okay, each lead right now I'm getting them for 60 cents. Now you're just printing money.
Right.
Because if you're spending 60 cents and you're getting $2 out, it's like a magic ATM machine. Like that's incredible.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's sort of big picture. That's kind of the game. That's how you win at that.
Now, so what do the best ads look like? Are they just like someone holding their phone up, you know, to a beat? Is it them talking like, "Hey, I got an offer for you"? Is it a picture? What have been your experience?
Yeah, this will be an unsatisfying answer, but it's really about testing. So I've done pretty much all those things you've talked about. I've done ones where it's me talking on camera, and those have done really, really well. I've done ones where it's like the behind the scenes, like me making a beat or like pretending because I like made it like a year ago or whatever.
Right.
But you know, like
Everyone's got a little cap in their game, right?
One of the videos where like they're playing the beat and like acting like they're making it.
yeah, definitely. Those have done really well for me. I've done ones where like I've got like a great graphic designer on my team, Matt, who does just all kinds of cool ideas where it'll you know, just be like a picture of a microphone and it'll say like, finish that album, you know, and then it's like, and then it becomes about the copy, it becomes about the text that, you know, shows up above or below it. So all that stuff has worked for me, and you just kind of have to test it out, honestly, and see. But those will be 3 good ones to start with. Like, try it with you talking on camera, try doing it like, here's me in the studio making the beat, and try like some random graphic that says, you know, get some free beats or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But the one thing not to do is to put money behind a Facebook ad of someone just leading straight to the beat store without collecting emails.
If it's just a beat store, it's going to be really tough.
And that's why
It's
people
not
say
efficient,
that.
right?
And that's why
Yeah.
people say it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not getting nothing out of it. I definitely see the concept there, because you know you're buying that email basically at the end of the day, because now you got that for until they unsubscribe, right?
Yeah.
So you recommend everybody to split test, like everybody, because they don't know at first what's gonna work.
Yeah,
So
and-
everybody
and-
should split test.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you have to test everything. And like, split test can just mean like literally like, okay, let me just try this ad for 5 days and be like, cool, that did okay. Let me try this ad for 5 days. Like, it doesn't have to be like, there is like ways like in Facebook Ads Manager to set up a split test, and it can get more complicated or whatever. But like, literally just try stuff for a little while, see how that works. Try something else for a little while,
Right.
you know, and see how that works.
Right.
Now, what are some good budgets to start with? And if you really want to scale, like say you want to get to 6 figures, what do you think your monthly budgets would have to look like?
Man, it can range so much. I would say as a minimum, like you got to spend it. I would say at least $5 a day. Like that would be like your just minimum to just know if something's gonna work or not. Like anything below that, and you don't know. And even then, if you're doing $5 a day, it's gonna take a few days before you have enough data, enough people who have seen that ad to be able to make any kind of decision of if it's working, if it's profitable. And then as far as scaling up, I mean, it's kind of like the sky is the limit. Like as long as you're seeing that positive return on ad spend, meaning like we're talking about, you're putting in money and you're getting more out. Like to me, just keep scaling, keep spending more and more. You know, we've done stuff where we're in the middle of some kind of launch. Like we have some kind of special deal, right? Some kind of special bundle, like we've been talking about, like right, a bundle of products and services. But like it's not a year-round thing. It's like, hey, only for the next 5 days you can get this like crazy deal, right? And so when we were doing that, we've had times where we're spending $5,000 a day, you know, and it's like, but it's great because we're making back
Way
7,
more.
10, 20, you know, whatever it is on those ads. So really there's no limit to go high. It's just make sure you're watching it to make sure that you're still profitable.
Right.
I forget. I remember I saw this. I was watching this interview in this company. It's a major company, something like a TikTok or something like that. They said that they put almost 90% of their expenses are strictly towards Facebook ads. Like, I thought that was
Sheesh.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
They're I think they were a multi-billion-dollar company. I really wish I knew what company it was, but that just blew my mind.
I believe it's because it's one of the biggest opportunities of our lifetime. Like
Yes.
it'll probably go away. Like it's gonna, if nothing else, more and more of these billion-dollar companies, because it's a bidding type thing, right? You're bidding for that spot. So if somebody else is outbidding you in the news feed or wherever, then like you lose. You don't show up, or you show up to a less quality. You know, so like at the very least, it's gonna get more and more expensive. And then now, you know, they've got all the privacy stuff, and who knows? Like all this stuff evolves. So like same concept as before is like, okay, Instagram organic works right now, so go out, so do it. Like do it now, and like understand it's gonna shift. But like right now, Facebook ads is the shit. Like you should be on it. Like you're gonna be mad in 2 years when everybody's like, oh, remember the good old days? You just put 60 cents in and $2 came out. Like,
Right. On the beach. Everybody.
Yeah. So, so obviously, when you started your whole process of online beat selling, you had some credentials, you had some names to drop.
Mhm.
How important is that? And how can guys is this something that guys can do without having, you know, major credits? Because, you know, I mean, obviously, you've Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, just to name a few, some of them.
Yeah. So for me, first of all, a lot of those came from engineering. So that's like I was saying earlier, like the engineering is like huge, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it helps, you know, it definitely helps. But really what it comes down to is telling your story, right? So like my story, which is true, was like, hey, I tried the industry way. I even had some success. I had some songs on the radio. I worked with some guys that you guys have heard of, but it didn't work for me. So now what I'm doing is building my own personal brand and being independent, but also for artists, like the message is, hey, you don't need the labels. You can be independent. Like we're going to give you the tools and resources that you need to succeed. And so that's what my story and our product is, right? But it's pretty specific to us, right? So like some other producer listening to this who doesn't have any credits, who's just starting up, maybe their story is, hey, like, you know, I discovered this love for music, and like you could even like kind of like differentiate yourself from someone like me, and maybe kind of like, I don't want to say talk shit, but be like, you know, like, oh, these other production teams, like, they don't even care about you. Like, for me, I like literally personally answer every single email. I will like personally talk to you and whatever. And that's your story and that's your offer. So you just have to figure out what are your strengths, and then that's what your messaging and that's what your offer is around. So like for us, yeah, it works great because that is my story. And so that ties into what we're doing, but I don't think you need that. I've seen people be successful without that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But you better follow through. If you're going to say, like, you're all I care about, and I'm going to personally respond on every single one, you better.
What about
better
somebody
answer.
like making a fake story? Just to,
What do you mean?
just making a fake story just to reel in customers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want the audience to get the feel that you're just saying, like, yo, make a story.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Sorry. So when I'm saying story, yes, it should be your story.
Right.
Like it should, yeah, story sounds like it's something fictional. Like,
make
no,
up a
like,
story, man.
yeah, just make it up.
Man, I was,
No. Yeah,
it's
no.
crazy. And I made beats.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah, like your story that you're telling needs to be true, right? And of course, you're going to emphasize certain things that make sense in that context. But like, yeah, it's gotta be true. Otherwise, people call you out on it, or they'll feel it to some extent for sure.
What are some common marketing mistakes you see producers making? I'm not talking about, you know, buying ads and sending them to a beat store. More like kind of stuff like maybe a lot of people wouldn't even think of, like colors and logo and names. I've heard a lot of tags that are like, I don't know if I'd buy a beat just because of the tag kind of thing.
Damn, for real?
What?
No, I guess I've heard some bad tags.
Yeah, don't lie.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, to me, I like to focus on big picture first, right? So like to me, like the color of a button makes a difference, right? It might make a 0.5% difference or a 1% difference. But the thing that you're selling, that offer you put together, could be a 300% difference.
Right.
So to me, it's almost like I'm not too worried about that stuff, because I'd rather let's start with big picture first. Because if you're trying to change the color of your button,
And you don't even have a click funnel set up.
Yeah, or you just don't have a good offer. You don't have, you know what I mean? The bigger picture stuff. You're not telling your story in a good way or whatever. Like, to me, I'd rather focus on that stuff. But I guess as far as little stuff, I mean, it's sort of, it should be common sense, right? Like, you don't want it to look horrible. You don't want it to sound horrible. Like, so maybe if you know that you're somebody who doesn't have a great eye for this kind of stuff, like have your friend look at it who's going to be honest. But like, yeah, you don't want to have a horrible logo. You don't want to have, like all that stuff to me is like common sense. And if you're not sure, then like, yeah, ask a friend or something.
Anything specific in maybe like their YouTube videos or titling or anything?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on the YouTube like my YouTube's garbage, so like I said. So yeah, no, I don't know. I don't have anything on that specifically. As far as those kind of little tactics and stuff, I mean, I'll say this. So like on Instagram, so like it's all about engagement, right? So the thing that you want is engagement. So like one cool little hack is like one of the ways that your content is going to show up high on somebody's stream is if Instagram thinks that they care about your content, right? That's basically what it comes down to. They want their users to have a good experience, so they keep coming back, so they can keep running ads, so like people like me and these billion-dollar companies keep spending that money. So that's how that algorithm works. So one of the ways that you can kind of cheat that algorithm is if you've DM'd with somebody, they're like, oh, these people care about each other, right? So like you can do stuff kind of like like you'd mentioned that earlier, like drop your email and so maybe you don't want to do that specifically, but it could be like just in your stories, you could be like, where are you guys from? Drop your location and draw like a little arrow down to where they can DM you right back. And all of a sudden, if you get 50 people or 10 people or one person to hit you back, your content is going to show up.
Stream.
Yeah, it's going to show up higher there.
That's a big gem, bro.
Yeah, and then from there, the second way the algorithm works is like, that's who it's going to show it to in the first place. And then how much early engagement does it get? So the fact that it's showing up in more people's streams first means you're going to get more likes and comments early in those first 10 minutes. And now that's going to get shown to more and more people.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, that's big right there.
Super gem.
Gems, man. So I know you've kind of bundled up a nice course, you know what I mean, where you kind of go deeper on everything you've just talked about. Can you tell people a little bit about the course?
Yeah, no, this is something I'm super excited about. We just launched this not too long ago. So I teamed up with Anno Domini, who's like the dude that I have always looked up to. And then, he's again, the other guy who's made $1 million selling beats online, specifically using funnels. And so like, so we kind of got together and basically created this training, just to show people like, and it's funny, like I was talking to my team about it and it's like, do we want to do this? Like we kind of have this crazy competitive advantage where like nobody else is doing, like that's part of why we've made so much money. And it was like, yeah, I want to, cause like to me, I love teaching this stuff. Like I'm a nerd, like you guys can tell. Like I'm a nerd about this marketing stuff and all this. Like, so I love talking about it. I love teaching it. Like I love working with producers. Like I like working with artists and stuff too. But like, there's something special. Like I'm a producer, so so there's something about that. And so we made the decision to do it. Of like, all right, we're just gonna give the game away. Like we're gonna teach people how like everything. And so we kind of teamed up and we created this training where we basically go deeper into all the stuff we talked about and also not just talk about it sort of theoretically like we have here. We actually literally give you our funnels, our pages, our emails, the sequence. Like we give you as much as we possibly can to make you be successful. And then, you got to fill in a couple of things. You got to fill in what's your story, what's your, stuff like that. But so I'm super excited about it. We've been seeing crazy results where it's like so cool to see, like, because it's tough, man. It's tough selling beats online. And so there's people who like they've been trying to sell beats for years and like haven't really had much success, and they they go on this and it's like bam, like whoa, I got sales, like I launched this and I got a sale a few hours later, like that's never happened, or like bam, like or there's some people who are more experienced who have been kind of toying around with this kind of stuff but didn't have quite the game, because like you can understand the concept of funnels and read up on some of this stuff, but to actually have the exact funnel that converts really well for our audience makes all the difference. So there's a couple guys in there like who are super experienced. Actually, it's like pretty impressive. Like I've been like humbled and honored to see like all these producers that I'm like, oh, these are like the dope, like best-selling producers have like bought the course and are like, you know, so that's been really cool. And seeing some of those guys, the results they get is crazy because like now it's just adding one little piece. Like, oh, I just didn't see that piece, and they're making. You know, we had a guy who made like $2,000 within like I think a week of signing up.
Wow.
You know, on top, and he's somebody who like. Just to be clear, like he's had experience. He understood the concept before to some extent. He just didn't have the exact things. And once he had that, like, bam, it changed everything. So it's been cool to see everything from people who like literally never sold a beat in their life, you know, which to me is like, I'm happy for them because it's like, if I knew about this before I even really started it the other way, then I'd be like, you know, I would have saved a lot of time and money and energy and effort. So like, so it's been cool.
Yeah, I grabbed the course a couple of days ago, you know, when I started doing my research when we were, found out we were about to interview. And I've definitely like done some exploring that I haven't seen. Like there's a lot of content that like a lot of the videos are like an hour, 2 hours, you know, worth of content. But you break down exactly like how to build, like you break down the system of ClickFunnels, like how to build and how to even get started and all that, right?
Yeah, we actually more than just break it down. So ClickFunnels specifically has this cool thing where you can literally share a funnel. So I can take my funnel and I can clone it into your account. So it like literally is all there. And now you just got to like swap out your logo, swap with a little video. So we don't just we actually give you that funnel. And then we talk you through the theory of like, here's where you should tweak. Here's where you need to change. Here's, you know, so yeah.
Make me want to sell beats online now.
Now, but now we the page is up there, right? So there's a special offer right now, so they can go check it out.
Yep, absolutely. So if you go to legionbeats.com/producergrind, we have a free training that talks about a lot of this stuff. That then we'll show you how if you want to get even deeper into it, we'll show you how to do that. But just on that free training, you'll get you know, if you liked any of this stuff, if you felt like you learned something here, you're going to love that training. And that training is free. And then you'll see there's an offer. We're
gonna walk you through the ladder.
We're going to walk you up the value ladder. We're going to ask for your email address first, right? And then we're going to give you a bunch of incredible content. And then we're going to create an offer for you that is going to be irresistible because it's going to be amazing.
Right.
Doing the Russell Brunson.
Right.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a part of a ClickFunnels. This is a ClickFunnels podcast. But it's like super gems. Like even if people just go off of just this podcast alone, I'm more than convinced that they'll see numbers change and they'll have their whole mindsets are going to change. And it's big that you even, like you guys said, it's real honest. Like, do we want to even give this away? Because in a year, 2 years, everyone's going to have this template, but the next evolution is going to come after that. So I think that's the wise choice.
And honestly, like, you know, if you've seen our podcast, you know, we don't like be like, oh, click below to, you know, sign up for our course and stuff. You know, this is honestly like, this was something I was like, damn, this is like, honestly, like, because I was watching the videos, I swear to God, I like started tweaking stuff on our own site. You know what I mean? Nice. Stuff with like little holes that we could patch up and stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, it's definitely worth checking out, especially just grabbing the free course.
Yeah.
But my question is, we know what the oversaturation in the current business model looks like. What does oversaturation in this new producer funnel model look like?
It's not there yet. It doesn't exist. I mean, what will it look like? What could it look like?
Yeah. Like, what is it going to look like if all producers got
a funnel, you got a funnel, you get a funnel.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So just like we talked about, like, okay, right now, organic on Instagram is crushing it. So go all in, make your money, and be smart and be ready for the next thing. Facebook ads right now is this incredible opportunity. Go all in, crush it, and be ready for the next thing. Right now, using funnels to sell beats is insane. Do it right now. Go all in. And I don't know, maybe in 2 years we'll have a new course and hopefully I'll figure it out or somebody will figure it out and there will be a new thing. But right now, this is the opportunity. It's not oversaturated.
It's like the same thing as like the SoundClick days.
Yeah.
And that was what it was at that moment. And this is the next transition and it'll be a transition after that.
Evolution kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you make beats still?
Yeah, I do. I have it pretty streamlined now because it's like I spend so much time on this other side of it. But I love making beats. And I still even engineer a little bit too. But like I have it pretty streamlined now where like I get in the studio with my production partner Nate, who's like incredible on the keys. Like dude literally plays 100 instruments. Like not like he plays, like he literally like for fun he goes on eBay and like finds like like,
I
you
don't
know,
even know 100 instruments.
yeah, no, I didn't know 100, but he'll find like some weird Chinese guitar that you didn't even know existed, and then he'll like he'll learn how to like really play it.
Wow.
So he's just an incredible musician. So that's the dude that I usually make beats with. Been working with him since 2006 or whatever. So like we'll get in the studio and be super streamlined. Like sometimes it'll be like I'll whip up some drums real quick, have him play some stuff. Or we got people on the team where it's like, okay, send me a loop, cool, I'll put some drums on it. Or hey, send me some drums, cool, I'll have Nate play some stuff on it. You know, so I've gotten it pretty streamlined now where in a few hours we can knock out a few beats. And then I've got, somebody else on my team who's going to take care of all the like exporting it and all the different formats and the naming and the titling. And then from there, to post it, getting the graphics and the videos and repurpose for Instagram and YouTube and so for me, I just spend those few hours and I'm able to, still make at least a few beats every week.
When you're putting together a team, there's certain positions that each team has. There's a leader, someone that's orchestrating the whole thing, and then each person has their own different category. When you're in the first steps of building your team, what are like the three main roles that need to be filled at first? Of course, it starts with the overseer, the one that has the whole vision.
Yeah.
The vision.
Yeah, it's going to depend. And I think sometimes people fall into the trap of like, thinking that a team is the thing that's going to make them successful.
Man, preach, man. I feel the same way.
Right?
I hear so many people like, yo, bro, once I got a team, even one of my good friends, I'll put him out on the spot. If he watches this, he's like, yo, once I got the team, I can do it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, like there's so much stuff you can do like before a team even comes into play. You got to have something in motion to where it's too much for you to even keep up with where you need a team.
That's, yeah.
He answered it with Dylan.
That's literally exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, no, that's what it's about.
I intercepted the play.
Yeah, no, please. Yeah, no, that's it. Like honestly, like make sure that you get to a point to where it's like, don't be like, oh, I need somebody to figure out whatever Facebook ads for me, or I need somebody to figure out, like, no, figure it out. Like spend the time, and then once you get to a point where like, okay, now I can't keep up with this. Like you said, like now I've got too much business. Great, that's a good problem. Now you hire out for that position. You know what I mean? So that's how I'd approach it for sure.
Start delegating and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Don't use it as an excuse. Put it on yourself, and then get so good at it yourself that you need help to keep up with the demand.
Now, there's one thing we can't get. I remember you said this, and I feel like this is a thing that I know Dylan's talked about. We talk about a lot, but it's trusting to train somebody. Something you talked about on the Mixer G podcast. Yeah, about being able to trust somebody. Like, I know I'm the only one that can do this. I don't think nobody else could do this as good as me. Talk about that.
It's tough, like especially if you've had that mentality that we're talking about, where it's like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do everything. I'm going to get really good at it. Like when you do actually get to that point, it can be like, really hard to have that mindset shift of like, okay, like I'm gonna let go of this. I'm gonna put this in somebody else's hands. But what's been pretty amazing is like pretty much every time I've done that, I've been amazed at like how well they do. And a lot of times, especially because I'm trying to do 10 things at once, right? And if I'm hiring somebody, hopefully they're doing less. We're still, we're small, we're a startup, like everybody's doing multiple roles, but they're more focused than I am, right? So if they're really focused on that one thing, they might end up doing it better than me, right? Because they're actually spending the time. They care about these one or two things way more than I could possibly have the bandwidth to focus on. Right. So it's just trusting and not letting your ego get in the way of like, oh, I'm the only person who can answer my emails. It's like, no, like, and that's like, sounds so dumb.
But it's true.
That was a thought I had. Like, oh, well, like people are going to ask all kinds of complicated questions. People don't understand the business enough. They like, that's literally a thought I had. You know what I mean? And I had to go through the process of like, of handing that off and you got to do it in a way where like you actually teach them. You have to show them how to win. Like you can't just hire people and be like, okay, go. Like you got to be like
the emails, bro. Like,
yeah.
All right.
Exactly. You have to have those procedures in place of like, okay, well, here's how you answer this type of email. Here's what you do in this situation, and train them and take the time to do that. And tell them what's a win. Like, how do they win? Like, okay, we're expected inbox 0 every day. Like that's not realistic, but like, okay, like, we want a, 36-hour turnaround time on average on emails. Like whatever it is, like show them how they can win. And that way, like they can feel good that they're winning. Otherwise, like what happens, like entrepreneurs, a lot of times they hire people and they have these crazy expectations, like because they have crazy expectations for themselves. They put that on the people they hired, and then those people are in a constant state of stress because they never win. Like you got to give them that goal to win and let them run through that goal. Like don't make it some crazy, like let them run through this goal and then give them the next one. Let them run through that goal and like
Baby
keep that
steps.
momentum up. Yeah. And that's the way that you really get a team on board and excited is like, let them win. Like give them the next target that they can hit and then the next one and the next one. And then you're all just running.
Tell the guy in the Philippines, man, 5 beats. 5 beats this week, man. And we're, you know what I mean? We're good. We're good.
Yeah,
He gives you 8, then it's like, oh, great, man. Let's get 10. And he's like, 10, I can do that.
No, I was joking about the dude mixing in the Philippines. I have 2 people on my team who are in the Philippines, and they're more on the customer service side, and now getting into doing a bunch of other stuff as well. But
Making
like,
beats?
not making beats, not yet. But yeah, that is yeah. So you don't. So what's great now is like you don't have to have somebody where you are. Like you can have a team all over the world, and you could do it remotely from anywhere.
Right.
Now I want to talk about kind of a different topic here. Beats with hooks. Now that was something that was real big, like when I first started getting to making beats, like 08, 09, but it kind of like died out. It kind of became like a lost art, a lost practice. But seems like you're still doing that very frequently.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's funny. Not a lot of people ask me about that. To me, it's something that seems so obvious, but people don't really ask me. But yeah, no. So like for me, ever since I started, like when I first started, like I was trying to get those local placements and stuff like that. And it was a little bit of a struggle. And then like I connected with this dude at the time, Matt Black, who was like, a great singer, songwriter dude. And he put hooks on a bunch of beats. And I was like, first of all, this sounds great. Like I'm happy about this. This is dope. And those, actually he was crazy. Like he came through and knocked out like 5 hooks in one night, like wrote them, recorded, mixed, like he was crazy. But like, and I remember the next day he had a plug to Messy Marv. And this was like before we had connected. And this is, if you're from the Bay, you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Like, you guys probably don't even know who that is. But like I was super, it was like one of my favorite rappers, right?
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh God, I hope he like picks one of those beats. And I remember Matt hit me in the morning like, bro, he wants all 5 of those.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh shit, and like one of those songs was a song called I'm From the Bay, which ended up being like huge, like, like I've been walking down the street and like hear people like play that in the car. Like it's, but I learned from that. So I was like, that's something too. Like if something works, like double down on it, triple down on it. So I was like, okay, like let me do more of that. And so it started to be like pretty much every single placement that we got had a hook on it. And we started just developing relationships with different people who sung hooks, like get dope songwriters. And it just helped us. So, and then we carried that, and then I just carried that over into when I was selling beats online of like, cool, let me do beats with hooks on, on everything. It got to the point where I basically wouldn't send out a beat unless it had a hook on it for a placement. That's what I do with my beats now online. Like, I think I might be the only producer who does this. Like every single beat that we post a version with a hook and an instrumental.
Right.
Definitely noticed that. So is the artist allowed to perform the hook themselves? Like can they buy the non-hook version and just word for word perform that hook and record it like that?
Yeah, for the most part. So we work with a lot of different songwriters. So almost all of them are cool with that. A couple of them aren't. And so, if anybody buys that beat and they want to ask us specifically or whatever, then we can let them know. But for the most part, yes, they're allowed to re-sing it, do whatever they want with it. Like basically, and a lot of people do that, and it's, to be perfectly honest, a lot of times questionable. Like the dude singing it the first time probably did a better job, but it doesn't mean,
I hear that.
But not always. Sometimes they flip it in a way that's cool. And so, yeah, for the most part, we do let people do that. It's really up to the person who did the hook. A couple of them aren't comfortable with that, but most of them are.
No, I think that's dope because it just gives the artist a direction. Like they might hear the beat and be like, it's cool. But if they hear it with the hook, they're like,
got an idea.
Yeah. This is what we're going to do with that. Oh, yeah.
Definitely. It gives them the vision. And it's funny, it even happens a lot of times, like you said, where like, even if they don't redo the hook, like they'll buy the instrumental, but they'll still take something from it. They'll take the concept or the melody or, you know what I mean? It just gives them that vision. Like if you just hear a beat, like it's another skill to have that vision to hear a song on it. Ooh, so you're giving it one step closer. Like, oh, this already sounds like something. Like, cool. Right. Like, I want that.
Oh yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on. Now, there's there's different demographics of artists that buy beats, right?
Mhm.
There's guys that like they might buy a beat once every couple months or whatever. And there might be guys that are, you know, buying into these package deals that you've created where they get the whole process. They're investing in mixing and mastering. They're investing in promo. What is that ideal customer look like for your this business model?
So for me, we're at a point now where we want people to join our membership. You know, that's the point where we're at. So for us, that's what we want. We want people to join. We've got a $147 a month membership. It includes beats, includes mixing and mastering, includes some promo. It includes some community, like a private Facebook group. It includes some information products, like teaching people about how to rap, how to market themselves. So that to us, that's where we want people to go to. Like for us, that's our business model where we're at, you know, a few years into doing this kind of stuff. So that's who we want. People who want that sort of full service, sort of almost like artist development type of thing. So that's our ideal customer.
Now, would you say that that's like a select group of people, or what's the market share on those people?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not, you know, there's less people that are willing to spend $147 a month than are willing to buy a beat lease once every 6 months. So for sure, there's less of them, you know, absolutely. But it's just for us, our job is to find those people, you know.
Gotcha, man. Definitely some crazy gems that were dropped. So yeah, I mean, if they want to continue learning, legionbeats.com/producergrind.
Yes.
Let everyone know, you know, where they can go and, you know, check out what you're doing on social media and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to @LegionBeats, kind of see what we're doing there. Honestly, go to legionbeats.com/producergrind. Like that's where you're going to pick up the most stuff. Like that's where we're giving all the game away. So that's the best one. But yeah, @LegionBeats on Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Super sauce.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Man, this has been great. I'm stoked. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
All right, man. Another dope episode in the books, man.
Peace, y'all.
Signing out.